Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our chats with Emily, as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are using the Johnson edition. We are in now poem 529, I'm Sorry for the Dead Today. Now, this is an interesting poem because of Emily's ability to connect death with the symbol of haying. Now, we know this because of where we live. Of course, Emily will have seen it many times where the grain grows and then a scythe is used to kind of cut the hay, and that's a symbol in some ways, isn't it? Of course, of the power of living and, yes, obviously, of dying. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've worked through our set of introductory comment, as well as the preceding 528 poems. We just finished with 528, Mine by the Right. Now, in many ways, this is another one of Emily's sad poems about loss and passing. That is to say, she laments the fact that people who have already died and are buried under the ground to produce the grass or the hay, sounding very much, of course, like Walt Whitman, it's sad that they are missing and they are being missed. She says it this way: I'm sorry for the dead today. It's such congenial times. Old neighbors have it fences. It's time o' year for hay. And broad, sun-burned acquaintance discourse between the toil and laugh, a homely species that makes the fences smile. It seems so straight to lie away from all the noise of fields, the busy carts, the fragrant cocks, the mower's meter steals. A trouble lest they're homesick. Those farmers and their wives set separate from the farming and all the neighbors' lives. A wonder if the sculptor don't feel a lonesome way when men and boys and carts and June go down the fields to hay. Notice her use of the quotation marks around hay the second time. The first time she doesn't do it. The second time telling us, oh no, there's a certain kind of symbolism that she wants to address here, because there is a sepulcher that has been attained by these lost farmers, these men and these women, these husbands and these wives. I can't help but read a poem like this, and we'll get to it in a moment, and not think of Walt Whitman's Song of Myself, Passage 6, when the child comes and asks about the grass. We've, of course, given full lectures of all of the poems of the deathbed edition of Leaves of Grass at learnstrong.net. Our project there was called Talks with Walt. And as well, I think there's a lot for us to look forward to with Robert Frost here as well. Notice she'll begin with, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the dead. Notice dash, today, dash, today capitalized. It's such congenial times. In other words, nostalgic, looking backwards. Old neighbors have it fences. Now, of course, we can't help but think of Frost's mending wall here, right? We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. It's time a year for hay. In other words, it is the time in the late summer, the early fall, when the hay is all being cut. And broad, from congenial to broad. Broad, sunburned acquaintance, from neighbors to acquaintance. Discourse between the toil. I can't help but think of this word discourse and think that we've named our series Chats with Emily for a reason. Because Emily was so interested in talking and in discourse. And here she says, you know, while we're working and haying the fields, we stop, we have a conversation, and then laugh. A homely species, from congenial to homely, that makes the fences smile. Notice fences capitalized. The things that keep us, as Frost points out in Mending Wall, that classic, right? It seems so straight to lie away. Now, of course, brilliant use of the word straight. We lay, of course, the corpses in the grave straight. Here, straight can probably, though, mean more like difficult. A straight time is a difficult time, a trying time. It seems so straight to lie away. Again, Whitman's Song of Myself, Passage 6, has to come to mind here. From all the noise of fields, again we go from the smiling to the noise of fields, and then of course the listing of the things that she would know well, looking out, you know, from her daddy's property. She saw the men hay, the busy carts, the fragrant cocks, the mower's meter steals, The idea of the mower's meter here is, kind of almost like the rhythmical swish. One scholar has called it of the scythe itself. And of course, that's a powerful symbol. Now, some have argued that probably steals should start a new line or a new thought. Steals a trouble lest they're homesick. She points out that the dead are probably homesick for a day such as this. Now again, this is Emily playing that game of which is better, to die and go to heaven, or to live now and experience heaven. A trouble lest they're homesick, and then it is the dead. Those farmers and their wives set separate from the farming and all the neighbors' lives. Notice the rhythms and the rhyme of this poem, which makes it, again, this word I think is congenial, right? A wonder, to speak of congenial, if the sepulchre don't feel a lonesome way, again, maybe doesn't, should be used, but it's fine. Don't feel a lonesome way. When men and boys, leaving out the wives here, and carts in June, all of it go down, the fields too, and then the quotation marks around hay. It's a sad poem in a way, because it is sad, shall argue it to lose the ones that we love. The tone of this poem is remarkable. It can be at the same time, this is the genius of Emily, yes, it can be at the same time sad, lugubrious, as well as somehow triumphant, or maybe thinking through the experience of losing the ones we care about. At 3A, I mentioned Frost. Death of a Hired Man comes to mind. We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. Obviously, Frost's Mending Wall as well comes to mind. We've treated it at learnstrong.net. And then, of course, Song of Myself, as I mentioned. And we've given full lectures on all of the poems of Leaves of Grass at learnstrong.net if you want to run that to ground. Finally, in 3B, how do you deal and think about the whole idea of death and haying and the way that we have to say goodbye? Thank you.